Either you start paying $2,500 a month for that room, or find somewhere else to live. We're not running a charity here, Thomas." My daughter-in-law's words hung in the air like a slap. I looked up from my coffee, studying Karen's face. She stood in the doorway of what used to be my workshop, arms crossed, that expression she wore when she'd made up her mind about something. Behind her, I could see David, my son, staring at his phone, pretending he wasn't part of this conversation. $2,500, I said quietly. "That's what you think is fair?" "Fair?" Karen laughed, sharp and cold. "Fair is market rate for a room in North Dallas. Fair is not having a grown man taking up space we could be using for my home office. Fair is you finally contributing something instead of being dead weight around here." Dead weight. The word settled in my chest, heavy but familiar. I'd heard worse in my lifetime. Much worse. I took another sip of my coffee. It had gone cold. "Well," I said, setting down the mug, "I appreciate you letting me know." Karen blinked. I think she'd expected me to argue, maybe to beg. That's what she wanted, I realized. A scene, drama, something she could use to justify whatever came next. "That's it?" she said. "That's all you have to say?" I looked past her to David. My son finally glanced up from his phone, and for just a second, I saw something in his face. Guilt, maybe. Or just discomfort. Hard to tell anymore. "When do you need me out?" I asked. "We're being generous," Karen said quickly. "We'll give you until the end of the month. That's 3 weeks. 3 weeks to pack up the life I'd lived here for the past 2 years, since Margaret died. 3 weeks since I'd sold our house, the one we'd raised David in, because I couldn't stand to be there without her. 3 weeks since David had said, "Dad, come stay with us. We've got plenty of room." That had been true, at least. This house had 4 bedrooms. Karen's precious home office was currently a yoga studio she used maybe twice a month. "I'll be out before then," I said. I stood up, rinsed my coffee mug in the sink. Through the window, I could see the morning sun catching the pool in the backyard. I'd helped David with the down payment on this place. Not that he remembered. Or maybe he did, and that made this worse somehow. "Where will you go?" David finally spoke, his voice uncertain. I turned, met his eyes. "I'll figure something out. I always do." Karen made a dismissive sound. "Maybe one of those senior communities. I saw a great one off Legacy Drive. Very affordable." Affordable. Right. I almost smiled at that. "I'll look into it," I said. "If you'll excuse me, I have some calls to make." I walked past them, down the hallway to my room. Behind me, I heard Karen's voice, lower now but still clear. "See? I told you he wouldn't make a fuss. Your dad's always been reasonable about these things." Reasonable? Is that what she thought this was? I closed the door to my room and pulled out my phone. The screen showed 3 missed calls from Marcus. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I wanted. Robert Chen, property manager, Pinnacle Holdings Group. The phone rang twice. "Thomas," Robert's voice boomed through the speaker. "I was just thinking about you. How's the time off treating you?" "Time off's done," I said. "I need you to do something for me." "Name it." "Pull up the file on 4782 Meadowbrook Lane. What's the rental status?" I heard typing in the background. "Meadowbrook? That's the Richardson property, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath? Tenants are Davis, David, and Karen. They've been there 4 years. Why? 4 years. That's how long David and Karen had been renting this house. From me, or rather, from one of the 17 property management companies I owned across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They'd never connected the dots. Why would they? The lease agreement listed Pinnacle Holdings as the landlord. My name never appeared anywhere. "Pull their payment history," I said. More typing, then a low whistle. "Thomas, they're 2 months behind. I was actually going to send a notice this week. 2 months behind on rent, and Karen was demanding $2,500 a month from me." "Don't send the notice yet," I said. "I'll handle this personally." "You sure? That's not really your style anymore." "I'm sure." "And Robert? Start preparing the paperwork for eviction proceedings. I want everything ready to file, but don't file it yet. Not until I say." "Got it." Anything else? Yeah. What's the Sedona property status? The penthouse? Still vacant. Been waiting for you to decide what to do with it. You want me to list it? No. I'm moving in. Can you have it ready by this weekend? A pause. The whole penthouse? Thomas, that place is 4,000 square feet. It's just you. I know how big it is. I bought it. Can you have it ready? Consider it done. Should I send someone to help you move? I'll let you know. Thanks, Robert. I ended the call and sat on the edge of the bed. The room was small, barely bigger than a closet, really. Karen hadn't been lying about that. It had been my workshop once, before they converted it. My tools were still in the garage, collecting dust. David used to hand them to me when he was little, asking how everything worked. When had that boy disappeared? My phone buzzed. Marcus again. Morning, Marcus, I answered. Thomas, we need to talk about the Houston deal. The buyer's getting impatient. Marcus Reeves had been my attorney for 23 years. More than that, he was a friend. One of the few who knew the whole story. Houston can wait, I said. I need you for something else first. I don't like that tone. What's going on? I'm moving out of David's place. Silence. Then Karen finally show her true colors? $2,500 a month for a room. Or get out. Marcus cursed, colorful and creative. That woman. Did David go along with this? He stood there and let her say it. I'm sorry, Thomas. I know you hoped. Well, hope's expensive. I'm done paying for it. What do you need from me? I want you to look into something. David and Karen are 2 months behind on rent. They don't know I own the property. I want to know where their money's going. Consider it done. Where are you moving to? The Sedona penthouse. Another pause. The one you built for Margaret? She never got to see it finished. Seems like someone should enjoy it. Thomas. I'll call you later, Marcus. Thanks. I set the phone down and opened my laptop. Email after email from various managers. Updates on properties, acquisition opportunities, maintenance requests. An empire built slowly over 40 years, starting with a single duplex I'd bought with my VA loan when I came back from Vietnam. Margaret had lived in one side while I fixed up the other. That was how we met. I closed the laptop. None of this mattered right now. What mattered was the box under my bed, the one with Margaret's things. I pulled it out, opened it carefully. Her reading glasses. The journal she'd kept. Photos of us from when we were young and stupid and in love. Photos of David as a baby, as a child, as a young man at his college graduation. There was one photo near the bottom. David, maybe 8 years old, wearing my old work boots that were way too big for him. He'd insisted on helping me renovate that first apartment building downtown. Got paint all over himself. Margaret had laughed so hard she cried. What happened to you? I whispered to the photo. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered it. Mr. Westbrook? This is Amanda from Prestige Auto. I'm calling about the payment for the Mercedes registered to David Westbrook. I'm not David. You have the wrong number. Oh, I apologize. The account shows you as a co-signer on the loan. The payment is 14 days overdue. And I hung up, co-signer. I'd forgotten about that. David had needed someone with better credit when he bought Karen's dream car last year. A Mercedes GLE, $70,000. And I'd signed because he'd asked, and I'd wanted to help. I called Marcus back. Found something already? He answered. Add the Mercedes loan to that list of things to look into. I'm a co-signer. Payments overdue. Jesus, Thomas. What else? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you to look. On it. Hey, do you want to grab lunch today? You shouldn't be alone with all this. I'm not alone. I'm just done being invisible. That afternoon, I started packing. I didn't have much. Most of my belongings had been in storage since I sold the old house. Clothes, books, a few pieces of furniture I couldn't part with. The photo albums. Margaret's things. Karen appeared in the doorway around 3. You're actually packing already? You said 3 weeks. I figured I'd give you your space back sooner. She looked almost disappointed. Where are you going? Found a place. One of those retirement communities? Something like that? She lingered, and I realized she was hoping I'd elaborate. Give her more information to dissect and judge. I went back to folding shirts. David feels terrible about this, she said finally. But I think it's for the best. You need to start the next chapter of your life, and we need our space. It's not personal. I stopped folding, looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time in a long while. She was 34, pretty in that sharp way that looked good in photos but cold in person. She'd worked in pharmaceutical sales when David met her. Successful, driven, always chasing the next big thing. Not personal, I repeated. Right. I mean it. You're a nice man, Thomas, but you're in your 60s now. You should be thinking about making friends your own age, finding activities, maybe even dating again. It's not healthy to just exist in someone else's house. You're absolutely right, I said. Thank you for the advice. She smiled, satisfied that she'd done her good deed for the day. If you need help moving, David can probably take a few hours off work next weekend. That won't be necessary. She left, and I heard her on the phone a minute later, voice bright and cheerful. Hey, Lisa. Oh my God, you'll never believe what just happened. I finally talked to Thomas about the room situation, and he was so understanding. I closed the door and called Robert back. How quickly can you get a moving company to pack up a bedroom? This weekend? Soon enough? Perfect. And Robert? I want the penthouse fully furnished. Everything. Top quality. Don't hold back. This is starting to sound like more than just a move. It is. It's a fresh start. Friday morning, I was drinking coffee in the kitchen when David came down early. He looked exhausted. Stress, probably. He didn't say anything at first. Just started the coffee maker and stood there staring at it while it brewed. You okay? I asked. He jumped a little. Didn't see you there? Yeah, fine. Just tired. Work busy? Yeah. The company's restructuring. Lot of uncertainty. David worked in medical device sales. Or he had. I made a mental note to ask Marcus about that too. I heard you're moving this weekend, he said, still not looking at me. That's the plan. Where to? Found a place downtown. Nice building. Downtown? Dad, that's expensive. Are you sure you can? I'll be fine. He finally looked at me, and I saw it again. That flash of something. Look, about what Karen said. The rent thing. Maybe we were too harsh. You could stay longer. And we could figure out something more reasonable. David. I set down my coffee. It's fine. Your wife is right. This is your house, your space. You need to build your life. But you're my father. Exactly. Which means I should have taught you better than to let your wife treat people the way she treated me. But that's on me, not you. His face reddened. That's not fair. No? You stood there while she called me dead weight. You stood there while she demanded money. You think Margaret would be proud of that? Bringing up his mother was low, and I knew it. But I was tired of being careful. Don't, he said, voice shaking. Don't bring Mom into this. She loved you more than anything. Did you know that? When you were born, she made me promise we'd always be there for you, no matter what. Even when you made mistakes. Even when you disappointed us. We kept that promise. I didn't disappoint you. No, you disappointed yourself. And you don't even see it yet. I left him standing there and went back to my room. My phone buzzed. Marcus. Got some preliminary information, he said. You sitting down? Should I be? David and Karen are in deep, Thomas. The car payment is just the start. They've got $83,000 in credit card debt. Medical bills from some fertility treatments Karen wanted. They refinanced the house 6 months ago to try to consolidate, but they're already maxed out again. Refinanced? They don't own the house. That's the thing. They think they're buying it. There's a lease-to-own agreement in their minds, but legally, they're just tenants. The lease is clear. I thought back to when they moved in. David had been so excited. We found the perfect house, Dad. The owner is doing this rent-to-own thing. I'd checked the address later out of curiosity, seen it was one of mine. I'd thought about telling him then, but Margaret had just been diagnosed, and everything else seemed so trivial. How much are they behind on rent? I asked. $11,000, including late fees. Jesus. There's more. Karen's been selling supplements on social media, one of those multi-level marketing things. She's lost about $15,000 on inventory she can't sell. And David? Thomas, he lost his job 3 months ago. The world tilted slightly. He what? Got laid off in a restructuring. He's been lying about going to work. I had an investigator check. He's been spending his days at coffee shops, applying for jobs online. 3 months. He'd been lying for 3 months. Does Karen know? I asked. Hard to say, but I'd guess no, based on her spending patterns. She charged $4,000 to her credit card last week. Furniture for that home office she wants to put in your room. I sat down on the bed. David, my son, lying every morning, putting on a suit, pretending to go to a job he didn't have. Too proud or too scared to ask for help. Marcus, what's the total? Everything they owe? Papers rustling. Between the car, the credit cards, the medical bills, back rent, and late fees. Roughly $130,000. And if they get evicted, they'll lose everything. The credit hit alone will destroy them for years. Add in the eviction on their record, and they won't be able to rent anywhere decent. Karen will probably leave him. David will. He didn't finish, but I knew. David would fall apart. He was barely holding on as it was. Don't file the eviction, I said. Thomas, you can't keep enabling this. I'm not. But I'm not destroying him either. Not yet. Give me a week. A week to do what? To see if there's anything left of the kid who used to hand me wrenches in the garage. Saturday morning, a black Escalade pulled up to the curb at 7 a.m. Marcus was driving. The moving company followed in a truck. I was already waiting outside with my few boxes and suitcases. Karen appeared at the front door in her bathrobe, eyes wide. What's all this? Moving truck, I said. Like I told you. But that's an Escalade. My ride, I said. Marcus is a friend. He's helping me out. Marcus stepped out, 6'3" and imposing in a suit that probably cost more than their monthly rent. He nodded to Karen. Morning. Morning, she managed, staring. David stumbled out behind her, hair disheveled. Dad, what's going on? Who's this? Marcus Reeves, Marcus said, extending a hand. I'm Thomas's attorney. Attorney? David looked between us, confused. Old friend, I said quickly. Helped me with paperwork after your mother passed. The movers were efficient. 20 minutes, and everything was loaded. Karen and David stood on the porch watching, both of them looking like they'd been hit with something they didn't understand. Well, I said, walking over to them one last time. Thank you for letting me stay here. I appreciate it. Dad, wait, David said. You never told us where you're moving. Downtown, Sedona building. Karen's eyes went huge. Sedona? That's the new luxury high-rise. Dad, those apartments are like $5,000 a month minimum. Penthouse is a bit more, Marcus said helpfully, but worth it for the view. I bit back a smile. Marcus was enjoying this. Penthouse? David looked sick. Dad, how can you afford... Don't worry about me, I said. I'll be fine. You two focus on your own lives. That's what this is about, right? Everyone taking care of themselves. I climbed into the Escalade. Through the window, I saw David's face, pale and confused. Karen was pulling out her phone, probably already Googling the Sedona building. That felt good, Marcus said as we drove away. It felt necessary, I corrected. Same thing. The Sedona building rose 40 stories above downtown Dallas, glass and steel catching the morning sun. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a gourmet kitchen Margaret would have loved, a library, a home theater, a terrace with a view that stretched for miles. Robert had outdone himself. The furniture was perfect, modern but comfortable, art on the walls, fresh flowers in the entry. The master bedroom had photos of Margaret waiting for me, professionally framed. He'd pulled them from my storage unit. Robert, I said when he showed me around, this is too much. No such thing as too much for you, boss. Welcome home. I stood on the terrace that afternoon, looking out at the city. Somewhere down there, David and Karen were in that house, drowning in debt they couldn't escape. Somewhere down there, my son was lying to his wife, pretending his life wasn't falling apart. And I was up here, in a palace I'd built, but never intended to live in alone. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Mr. Westbrook? This is Cheryl from Capital One. I'm calling about a charge dispute on a credit card account where you're listed as an authorized user. What account? The account under David Westbrook's name. You were added as an authorized user last year? I had been. Another thing I'd agreed to help with credit. What's the dispute? I asked, though I already knew where this was going. The account is 90 days past due. We've been trying to reach the primary card holder, but how much? 2,300 yuan. I hung up and called Marcus. Add another $23,000 to that list. What list? The list of things my son owes that I apparently co-signed for. Marcus swore creatively. Thomas, this is getting out of hand. You think I don't know that? What else should I be looking for? At this point? Everything. Let me do a comprehensive search. Credit bureaus, public records, the works. Might take a few days. Do it. Sunday evening, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Westbrook, this is Amanda Chen. I work with your son at Pinnacle Properties. He gave me your number. I handle the property management accounts. And I noticed the Meadowbrook property is associated with. Wait, is this David's father? The owner's name is also Thomas Westbrook. Is that a coincidence? My blood ran cold. Someone at the office had connected the dots. I called Robert immediately. Who the hell is Amanda Chen? New hire. Started last month. Bright kid. Why? She just texted me asking if I'm related to David Westbrook, who lives at one of our properties. Shit. What do you want me to do? Nothing. I'll handle it. I texted back. Yes, David is my son. Please keep this confidential. It's a personal matter. Her response came quickly. Of course. I'm so sorry if I overstepped. I was just surprised by the name match. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Thank you for your discretion. But everything wasn't fine. The secret was fracturing. Monday afternoon, my doorbell rang. Through the video intercom, I saw David standing there, looking around the lobby like he'd walked into another world. I buzzed him up. When the elevator opened, he stepped out into the foyer and just stopped, stared. Dad, he said quietly, what is this place? My home. Come in. He walked slowly through the space, taking in the art, the furniture, the view. When he reached the windows, he stood there silently for a long moment. How? He finally asked. Dad, how can you afford this? Sit down, David. He did, perching on the edge of the Italian leather sofa like he might break it. I sat across from him. Do you remember what I did for a living? I asked. Yeah. Construction. You worked construction, and then, I don't know, property management or something? Or something, I agreed. Do you remember the duplex your mother and I lived in when you were born? The one on Elm Street. You sold it when I was in high school. I didn't sell it. I still own it. I rent it out. Do you remember the apartment building downtown that I was always working on when you were a kid? The one where I helped paint? I own that too. I own 17 properties in Dallas-Fort Worth, David. Apartments, commercial buildings, residential properties. I've been in real estate development and property management for 40 years. He stared at me. 17 properties. The house you're living in? 4,782 Meadowbrook Lane? That's mine too. One of mine. You're my tenant. His face went from pale to red to pale again. No, that's the lease, says Pinnacle Holdings. I own Pinnacle Holdings and 6 other management companies. It's how I keep things organized. You own. He stood up, paced to the window, back. You own my house. Technically, I own 17 properties, including the building you live in. You rent from one of my companies. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have changed anything? You wanted to stand on your own, be independent. I respected that. But Dad, I asked to join your business when I was 22. You said no. I said you should build your own career first. Prove you could succeed without me. You did that. You had a good job, a good life. Then I sold the house after your mother died, and you offered to let me stay with you. I thought, I thought maybe we'd reconnect, spend time together. Then Karen happened. Then I became dead weight. He flinched, sat back down heavily. Dad, I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I should have said something. I should have stopped her. Yes, I said simply. You should have. I don't know why I didn't. She was so sure. And I was tired. I'm always so tired. Because you're lying to her about losing your job? The color drained from his face completely. I'm not stupid, David. And I have resources. You got laid off 3 months ago. You've been pretending to go to work every day. Why haven't you told her? Because she'll leave me, he whispered. She married me because I was successful. Because we were building this perfect life. If she knows I failed, that we're drowning in debt, that everything is falling apart, she'll leave. Maybe she should? He looked up sharply. What? Maybe she should leave. If you can't trust her with the truth, if you have to perform for her every day, is that really a marriage? You don't understand. I understand that you're $130,000 in debt between credit cards, medical bills, car payments, and back rent on a house you don't even own. I understand that you're a co-signer on loans I'm getting collection calls about. I understand that you're drowning, and instead of asking for help, you're putting on a suit every morning and pretending. Tears started rolling down his face. I didn't want to disappoint you. Disappoint me? David lying disappoints me. Treating me like dead weight disappoints me. Letting your wife demand rent when you're 2 months behind on your own rent? That disappoints me. But losing a job? That's life. That happens. What matters is what you do next. I don't know what to do next. You start by telling the truth. To Karen. To yourself. To me. He put his head in his hands. She's going to leave. Maybe. But son, if she leaves you because you lost a job during a recession, then she was always going to leave eventually. Better to find out now. We sat in silence. Through the windows, the city glowed in the twilight. Why didn't you tell me? He finally asked. About all of this? The properties? The money? Everything? Your mother and I agreed. We didn't want you to grow up thinking money was easy. We wanted you to understand work, effort, building something. We were going to tell you eventually, bring you into the business when you were ready. Then she got sick, and I shrugged. Time got away from me. Does anyone know? Marcus. Robert Chen, who manages most of the properties. A few others. But not many. Why not? Because I learned a long time ago that when people know you have money, they treat you differently. They want something. They see opportunity instead of person. Your mother and I, we just wanted to live our lives. Raise our son. Build something that mattered. You built an empire. I built a life. The empire was just how I paid for it. He wiped his eyes. What happens now? That's up to you. You can go home, tell Karen the truth, face the consequences. Or you can keep lying, keep drowning. But David, I want you to know something. I'm not going to save you. What? I'm not going to pay off your debts. I'm not going to bail you out. If you get evicted, if you lose everything, I will help you find a place to land, but I won't stop the fall. You need to face this. Dad, please. No, listen to me. Your mother and I made one mistake with you. We protected you too much. We smoothed over every problem, fixed every mistake. We thought we were helping, but we weren't. We never let you fail. Never let you hit bottom and have to climb back up. So now, at 32 years old, you don't know how. I can't lose everything. Then figure it out. Get a job. Any job. Talk to Karen. Tell her the truth about the money, about the house, about all of it. Cut up the credit cards. Downsize. Move somewhere cheaper. But do it yourself. That's cruel. No. Cruel would be letting you keep drowning. Cruel would be pretending everything is fine. This is love. Tough love, maybe, but love. He stood up, anger flashing across his face. So you're just going to watch me fail? I'm going to watch you figure it out. There's a difference. I came here thinking... He shook his head. I don't even know what I thought. That you'd help, that you'd care. I care more than you know. That's why I'm not helping. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the handle. I don't understand you. I know, but maybe someday you will. He left. The door closed behind him with a soft click. I stood there in the silence of this enormous space, surrounded by luxury I'd never wanted, and wondered if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. My phone rang. Marcus. I saw David leaving the building, he said. How'd it go? About as well as you'd expect. You told him? Most of it. And now I wait and see if I raised a man who can save himself or a boy who needs saving. That's cold, Thomas. That's parenting. Tuesday morning, my phone lit up with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Collection agencies, mostly. All asking about David, about the various accounts I'd co-signed. Marcus had been right. I was tied to more of their debt than I'd realized. I let them all go to voicemail. Wednesday afternoon, there was a knock at my door. Not the doorbell, an actual knock, which meant someone had gotten past the lobby security. Through the peephole, I saw Karen. I opened the door. She stood there in designer workout clothes, face flushed like she'd been running or crying. Maybe both. How dare you, she said. Karen, how dare you lie to us? How dare you let us live in your house for 4 years and not tell us? How dare you watch us struggle and not say a word? Would you like to come in? No, I do not want to come into your palace. She gestured at the space behind me. Do you know what you've done? Do you know what David told me last night? I imagine he told you the truth. He told me his father is some secret millionaire who owns half of Dallas. He told me we've been renting from you this whole time. He told me. She faltered. He told me he lost his job 3 months ago. And I didn't know. How could I not know? I'm his wife. I should have known. Maybe you weren't paying attention. Her eyes flashed. Don't you dare. Don't you dare judge me. You don't know what it's like. What's like being married to someone who thinks he's not good enough, who works himself to death trying to prove something, who never asks for help because he thinks it makes him weak. He learned that from someone, I said quietly. She stared at me. What? David thinks asking for help is weakness. Where do you think he got that idea? From you? From me. From watching me work 3 jobs to buy that first duplex. From watching me refuse help from anyone, even when your mother-in-law was dying and I probably should have asked. From a lifetime of me modeling self-sufficiency as the highest virtue. I paused, but I'm not proud of that anymore, and I don't want him to make the same mistakes. She looked thrown. Whatever she'd expected from this confrontation, it wasn't this. He's broken, Thomas. Do you understand that? He came home last night and just broke. Told me everything. The job, the debt, all of it. He cried for 2 hours. Good. Good? How is that good? Because it means he's finally being honest. With you. With himself. We owe $130,000. We're going to lose everything. Probably. And you're not going to help. No. She laughed, bitter and sharp. Unfucking believable. You have all this money, all this power, and you're just going to watch your son lose his home. Watch him learn, I corrected. There's a difference. There's really not. Karen, why are you here? What did you think was going to happen? That you'd show up and yell at me and I'd hand you a check? I thought. I don't know what I thought. That you'd care. That family would mean something to you. Family means everything to me. That's why I'm doing this. That doesn't make any sense. It will, eventually. She stood there, trembling with rage, or frustration, or fear. Hard to tell. I want you to know something, she said finally. The rent thing, the $2,500 a month. That was my idea, not David's. I know. And calling you dead weight, that was me too. I know that too. He wanted to say no. He wanted to tell me I was being horrible. But I pushed and pushed until he gave in. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that if he loses me over this, it's your fault. If this destroys our marriage, you did that. Not the debt, you. If your marriage can't survive honesty, Karen, it was already destroyed. I just helped you see it. She turned and walked away, heels clicking on the marble floor. At the elevator, she turned back. He loves you, you know. He idolizes you. And you're breaking his heart. Better a broken heart now than a broken life later. The elevator doors closed on her tear-streaked face. I closed the door and leaned against it, suddenly exhausted. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Karen told me she came to see you. I'm sorry. She shouldn't have done that. I typed back. It's fine. How are you? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, scared. But honest. That's something, right? That's everything. Thursday morning, Marcus called with the full financial report. It's worse than we thought, he said without preamble. Total debt is closer to $180,000. There were some personal loans we missed, and apparently Karen's credit cards have higher balances than she admitted to David. Can they file bankruptcy? They could, but with your name on some of these accounts as co-signer, it gets complicated. You'd be on the hook for anything discharged. How much? Maybe $60,000. I thought about Margaret, about the promise we'd made, about being there for David no matter what. I'll pay the co-signed amounts, I said. But that's it. Everything else, they handle on their own. Thomas, that's still enabling. No, it's taking responsibility for my own choices. I agreed to co-sign. That's on me. But everything else, that's on them. Okay, I'll set it up. What about the house? What about it? They're 3 months behind now. That's $13,500 in back rent plus fees. Do you want to file for eviction? I thought about David as a child, painting that apartment building, about Karen's tear-streaked face in the elevator, about the photo of Margaret I kept on my nightstand, the one where she was laughing at something I'd said. What would she do? Give them 6 months, I said. What? Waive the back rent. Give them 6 months rent-free. But make it clear. After 6 months, they're either current on payments or they're out. No extensions. No excuses. Thomas, that's the help I'm willing to give. 6 months to get their shit together. Find jobs. Deal with the debt. Figure out if their marriage can survive honesty. But they have to do the work. And if they don't, then they learn what consequences feel like. Friday afternoon, I was in the library when my doorbell rang again. This time, both David and Karen stood in the lobby. I buzzed them up. They walked in together but separately, if that makes sense. Standing close but not touching. Karen looked exhausted. David looked like he'd aged 5 years in a week. We wanted to thank you, David said stiffly. For what? Marcus called. He said you're waiving the back rent and giving us 6 months rent-free, and that you're paying off the accounts you co-signed on. It's not a gift. It's me taking responsibility for my choices and giving you time to make yours. Karen spoke up, voice quiet. It's more generous than we deserve. Maybe. Maybe not. Time will tell. They stood there awkwardly, looking around the space like they still couldn't believe it was real. Why did you keep it secret? David finally asked. All of this. Why didn't you tell us? I thought about how to answer that, about how much truth he was ready for. Your mother and I met when we were poor, I said. Really poor. I was fresh back from Vietnam, working construction, living in a duplex I could barely afford. She was a teacher, making nothing. We were happy, though. Really happy. Then I started buying properties, building the business. And we had choices to make. What kind of choices? Whether to tell people, whether to live big or live small, whether to let money change who we were. And we decided that we liked who we were when we were poor. We liked the life we'd built, the friends we had, the way people treated us. So we kept the business separate. We lived modestly, raised you in a normal house, with normal expectations. We wanted you to understand the value of work, of earning things. But you let me struggle, David said, emotion creeping into his voice. You watched me work 3 jobs in college, watched me take out loans, watched me stress about money for years. You could have helped. Yes, I could have. And if I'd known you were drowning, really drowning, I would have. But David, you never asked. You never came to me and said, Dad, I'm in trouble. You just put your head down and kept going, kept pretending everything was fine, just like I taught you. So this is my fault? No, it's my fault. For teaching you that asking for help is weakness. For modeling a kind of masculinity that values silence over honesty. For For not seeing that you'd inherited my worst traits instead of my best ones. Karen made a sound, something between a laugh and a sob. This is the most dysfunctional father-son moment I've ever witnessed. Probably, I agreed. But it's honest. Can I ask you something? David said. Why now? Why tell me now? Like this? Why not before? Why not easier? Because easy doesn't teach anything. Because you needed to hit bottom. Because, I paused, choosing words carefully. Because your mother died without getting to see this place. This penthouse we designed together. She never got to see half the things we worked for. And I realized, sitting alone in your guest room, that I was doing the same thing, working for nothing, building for no one, and I was angry. At us? At death, at timing, at wasted opportunities, and yes, at being called dead weight in my own property by someone who didn't even know who I was. I'm sorry, Karen whispered. I'm so sorry. I know, and I appreciate that, but sorry doesn't fix anything. Only action does. So what do we do now? David asked. You find jobs, both of you. You cut up the credit cards. You sell that ridiculous Mercedes and buy something you can actually afford. You go to therapy, separately and together. You learn to talk to each other honestly. You budget, you sacrifice. You do all the things people do when they're building a life from scratch. For 6 months. For 6 months. After that, you either pay market rate rent or you move somewhere cheaper. Your choice. And after the 6 months? Karen asked. If we figure it out, will you? Can we? She didn't know how to finish the question. Can you be part of my life? I finished for her. Can we be a family? She nodded. That depends on you. Both of you. Not on whether you pay rent or how much money you make, but on whether you can be honest, whether you can show up, whether you can see me as a person instead of a problem or a solution. We can do that, David said. Can you? Because for the last 4 years, I've been the guy in the spare room. Invisible, except when convenient. Is that going to change? Yes. How? Specifically, how? He looked at Karen, then back at me. I don't know, but I want to figure it out. That's a start. They left a few minutes later. At the door, David turned back. Dad? That photo you have in the bedroom. Mom in the garden. The one where she's laughing. Can you tell me what she was laughing at? I smiled, remembering. You were 3 years old, trying to help me plant tomatoes. You'd gotten covered in mud head to toe, and you were so proud of yourself. You said, Look, Daddy, I'm a garden. Your mother laughed until she cried. His eyes watered. I don't remember that. I know. But I do, and she did. And that's what mattered to her. Not the properties or the money or the business. Just you, covered in mud, happy to be helping. I want to be that person again. Then be him. It's not complicated. It's just hard. After they left, I stood on the terrace watching the sun set over Dallas. My phone rang. Marcus. How'd it go? As well as it could. You think they'll make it? I don't know. But I gave them a chance. That's all I can do. You're a better man than I am. No. I'm just a father who ran out of other options. What now? Now I wait and see if the 6 months I'm giving them is enough time to remember who they wanted to be before debt and pride got in the way. And if it's not, then I learn to live with being a father whose son couldn't be saved. That's dark, Thomas. That's life. 3 months later, David got a job. Not in medical device sales. Something smaller. Retail management at a sporting goods store. It paid $45,000 a year. About a third of what he used to make. But he showed up every day. He worked overtime. He came home tired but honest. Karen found work too. Medical billing. Not glamorous, but steady. She sold off her supplement inventory at a loss. Cut up 3 credit cards. Started seeing a therapist. They fought. I heard about it from David in awkward phone calls where he was learning to ask for advice instead of pretending he had all the answers. They almost split up twice, but they didn't. They kept showing up, kept trying. On David's birthday, I invited them both to dinner at the penthouse. They arrived on time, bringing cheap wine and flowers from Trader Joe's. Karen had lost weight, not from dieting, but from stress. David looked older, but somehow younger at the same time, like he'd aged into himself. "How's it going?" I asked, over steaks I'd grilled on the terrace. "Hard," David said honestly. "Really hard, but better. We're down to $90,000 in debt. The payment plan Marcus helped us set up is working. And you two?" They looked at each other. Karen reached over and took his hand. "We're learning," she said. "Learning to talk, learning to trust each other with the truth. It's not perfect. Nothing is." After dinner, David helped me clean up while Karen wandered the terrace. In the kitchen, he turned to me suddenly. "I owe you an apology." "You've apologized." "Not for the right thing. I apologized for not standing up to Karen, for letting her call you dead weight, for being a bad son. But that's not what I should apologize for." "What then?" "For not seeing you. For living in your house, eating your food, taking your help, and never once asking how you were doing after Mom died. For being so wrapped up in my own life that I forgot you were grieving too. For treating you like furniture instead of a person." I had to look away, blink hard. "I forgive you," I said quietly. "Just like that?" "Just like that. Because you finally see it. And because I wasn't perfect either. I could have told you. Could have been honest earlier. Could have asked for help with my grief instead of expecting you to notice. We both made mistakes. Can I ask you something? Why did you really move in with us? Was it just because you sold the house?" I thought about those first weeks after Margaret died. The silence of the empty house. The way every room reminded me of her absence. I was lonely, I admitted, and scared, and I thought maybe I could build something with you. Spend time together. Watch you build your life. Be part of it. I shrugged. That didn't work out the way I planned. But we're here now. We're here now. Karen appeared in the doorway. I hate to interrupt, but Thomas, can I show David something on the terrace? We followed her outside. She pointed to the corner, where I'd been keeping some of Margaret's old gardening pots. "I noticed these last time," she said, "and I thought, if you wanted, David and I could come over on weekends, help you start a garden out here. Tomatoes, maybe, like the photo." I looked at the pots, then at my son's face. He was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. "I'd like that," I said. "I'd like that very much." 6 months after I moved out of their house, David and Karen handed me a check for the first month's rent. Market rate, no discount. "We can afford it now," David said proudly. "Between both our jobs and the debt payments, we worked it into the budget." "I'm proud of you," I said, and I meant it. "Can I ask you something?" Karen said. "What made you do it? Give us the 6 months, help with the debt. We treated you terribly." "You did," I agreed. "But I'd treated David badly too, in different ways. And I realized something after your mother died, David. Life is too short to hold grudges. Too short to let pride win. Too short to watch the people you love destroy themselves, when you could give them a ladder, not carry them out of the hole. Just give them a ladder and step back." "Did you think we'd make it?" David asked. "Honestly, I wasn't sure. But I hoped. And hope, son, is expensive. But it's always worth the cost." The following Sunday, we planted tomatoes on my terrace. David got soil under his fingernails. Karen laughed at something I said about Margaret's terrible vegetable puns. And for the first time since she died, the silence in this enormous penthouse felt less like loneliness and more like peace. My son was covered in dirt, happy to be helping, and somewhere, I knew Margaret was smiling. We still had work to do. The debt wasn't gone, the damage wasn't entirely healed, but we were here, together, honest. And that was something. That was everything. 6 months later, those tomato plants produced fruit. Small, imperfect, but real. David picked the first one with hands that shook slightly. "It worked," he said, voice full of wonder. "It did," I agreed. "I didn't think it would. I kept thinking we'd do something wrong, kill them somehow. But you kept watering them, kept showing up. That's all it takes, really. Consistency, care, time." He looked at me. "We're not just talking about tomatoes, are we? We're never just talking about tomatoes." He laughed, and it sounded like the boy who used to hand me wrenches, the boy who'd gotten covered in mud and been proud of it, the boy I thought I'd lost, but who'd just been buried under expectations and fear. "Thanks, Dad," he said, "for the ladder." "Thanks for climbing," I answered. And there, 40 stories above Dallas, surrounded by plants that shouldn't survive this high up but did anyway, we were finally, truly family again. Not because of money, not because of property, or power, or pride, but because we'd both learned the hardest lesson there is. Sometimes love means letting go, and sometimes it means holding on just long enough for someone to remember how to stand.